It's the most famous secret recipe in the world. 11 herbs and spices, locked away in a vault for over 80 years. But what if the secret wasn't so secret after all? Today, we're using science to crack the code on KFC's original recipe chicken. Welcome to the Usabytes, where this month we're diving into the DIY. And the problem with KFC is that you're paying for a legend, but you're getting a greasy, expensive, and unhealthy product. We're solving that. By the end of this investigation, you will know the most likely combination of the 11 herbs and spices, a full cost and health breakdown, and how to make a version at home that's better than the original. Coming up next. Okay, so first things first, what exactly makes up the infamous blend? It turns out the recipe has changed quite a bit over the years. According to an interview with the Colonel's nephew, the original version only contained 9 spices. However, by the 1970s, that number had increased to 11. But don't worry, we're not about to embark on a decades-long treasure hunt to find the original 9. Instead, we rely on some incredible investigative reporting that came out in 2016. When a reporter was shown a family scrapbook, which supposedly contained the original recipe, she saw an opportunity to test its validity. She used her insider connections to obtain the spices from the document and posted the results online. To everyone's surprise, the recipe checked out. The main components: salt, pepper, thyme, basil, oregano, celery salt, black pepper, dried mustard, paprika, garlic salt, and ground ginger. But the real secret weapon, according to food scientists, is MSG. And yes, it does count as a herb or spice. Now that we have our 11 herbs and spices, let's talk about the method. How do these flavors get incorporated into the chicken? Well, according to food scientists, the true secret isn't the blend itself, but rather a 24-hour buttermilk brine. Soaking the chicken overnight helps to break down muscle fibers, resulting in a super juicy and tender product. Now, of course, we need to get that signature crispy, craggy crust. And contrary to what you might think, the secret isn't the batter, but rather a double dredge. Meaning the chicken gets coated in the spice blend twice. First before the brining, and then again right before cooking. As for the cooking itself, KFC claims to use pressure fryers that cook the chicken in their own juices. However, according to multiple former employees, they actually use a traditional 2-step fry process. Regardless, we won't need any special equipment to recreate this at home. We'll be using the air fryer since it can mimic the crunch of frying, while requiring just a fraction of the oil. But wait, there's one other critical piece to the puzzle, and that would be the temperature. So far, we've nailed the flavor and texture, but we haven't even scratched the surface of the cost and health benefits. A 12-piece bucket of KFC Original Recipe chicken can easily cost over $30 depending on your location. On the other hand, you can get a bucket of our chicken for under $15. That's more than a 50% saving. And now for the health analysis. A single piece of Original Recipe chicken from KFC has over 10 grams of fat and 400 milligrams of sodium. That's nearly 1/4 of the recommended daily intake for each. On the other hand, our air-fried version has less than half the fat and allows us to control the sodium completely. So with our DIY version, you get the same iconic flavor, but it's cheaper, dramatically healthier, and made with ingredients you can actually trust. Alright, let's put this theory to the test. We'll start by breaking down the recipe into 3 parts: the brine, the coating, and finally the secret blend itself. First, grab a large bowl or Ziploc bag and combine 1 gallon of buttermilk with 1/4 cup of salt. Be sure to add the salt to the water and not the other way around. Then add your chicken, seal it up, and refrigerate for at least 6 hours, or preferably overnight. The next day, remove the chicken from the brine and pat them dry with paper towels. Next, you'll want to set up your dredging station. This is going to save us time and make the process so much easier. Set 2 separate shallow bowls next to each other. In one, combine 1/4 cup of flour and 1 tablespoon of cornstarch. In the other, combine 1/4 cup of the spice blend. Repeat this process until you have 2 piles of flour and cornstarch and 4 piles of the spice blend. For an extra crispy crust, we're going to dip the chicken in the brine one last time. Just be sure to shake off any excess before moving forward. Next, dip each piece in the flour mixture, letting them drip. Then add a generous amount of the spice blend, toss to coat, and set aside. At this point, you'll want to preheat your air fryer to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Once it's hot, spray with some non-stick spray and carefully add your chicken, making sure not to overcrowd the basket. Cook the chicken for 10 minutes, then flip each piece and cook for another 5 to 10 minutes until golden brown and cooked through. While the chicken is finishing up, we'll move on to the final component, the secret blend. I know you could just buy it pre-made, but where's the fun in that? Plus, it's really easy to make yourself. Start by adding 1 tablespoon of ground ginger, 1 teaspoon of ground basil, 1 teaspoon of dried oregano, 1 teaspoon of celery salt, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper, 1/2 teaspoon of paprika, 1/2 teaspoon of garlic salt, 3/4 teaspoon of ground thyme, 1/2 teaspoon of ground mustard, and finally 1/2 teaspoon of MSG. I know the stigma surrounding MSG, but when it comes to savory, brothy flavors, it's hard to beat. Combine all the ingredients and you have yourself some deliciousness. You'll have enough for one batch of fried chicken and some leftovers. To use, simply add the blend to your flour and cornstarch mixture, so the secret is out. With a little food science, you can replicate one of the most guarded recipes in history. But this isn't just a copycat, it's an upgrade. You get that same iconic flavor, but it's cheaper, dramatically healthier, and made with ingredients you can actually trust. The verdict, the secret, is worth cracking. Now check out our take on fried pickles. We took a cue from fast food joints and recreated this guilty pleasure with a crispy dill pickle, a creamy slaw, and a tangy sauce. Check it out here. Or if you want to learn how we made this pizza, look no further.